I was muted. My bad. Hello, everybody. All right, that music was not hyped up enough. Nope, I didn't sample that one long enough. I gave it a quick sample. You guys, we sort of schlepped this thing together really fast. Derek and I were having a conversation. I was like, let's go live. Let's do it today. And so I had to whip up some graphics, a new countdown timer, and I wanted to pick a new song. And I just gave it a quick sample. That wasn't hyped up enough. That wasn't hyped up enough. I almost need like a redo or something. But welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody, for being here. I'm super excited about this show today because it's about reviews. And reviews is something I don't typically talk a lot about. But it's really important, especially for small businesses. Reviews. How many times do you go somewhere and try to, decide if you're going to check out a new store or restaurant or whatever, and you read the reviews, right? And if there aren't any reviews, you're not really sure what to think. You're not sure if it's because they haven't been in business long enough. You're not sure if it's because are they open? Or, no news is not necessarily always good news. And then, of course, if we see negative reviews, that's always a challenge as well, right? And so reviews are important. It is one of the steps in the customer journeys process when they're doing their research to decide if they're going to do whatever, right? Whether it be come into your store or your restaurant or buy your services or buy your products or, enroll in your programs or whatever it might be. So reviews are super critical. And so today we're going to talk about reviews. I've got my friend Derek McClain who's going to join us today because he shared inside of my private Facebook group, DIY Marketing with Melanie, he shared that he recently got this huge boost of reviews because of a strategy he implemented. And that is usually one of the challenges I run into with lots of people. In fact, even with my own podcast, it's hard to get people to take the step to give you a review. People typically like giving reviews when they're upset. They like to give their reviews when they're annoyed or frustrated, right? But when you have a positive experience, those positive reviews are really, really important. But it can be very difficult to get people to actually take that step to go through the process of reviewing your company. And so Derek recently had some success and he shared it in my private Facebook group and everyone was like, how? And so he's offered to spend a little bit of his time today and to help us learn how he did this. So it's going to be pretty fantastic. Well, hello, James. James, how does the Elgato Wave 3 sound today? I've got it bumped up a little bit. I got my pop filter on. I actually got this pop filter. So James has been kind of helping me geek out about a few things. Also, quick shout out to you, James. I checked out Place It. I like long enough to just poke around. I can't wait to play around with the app a little bit more. So thank you for recommending that. So I want to say before we get started though, really quickly that this particular stream is sponsored by StreamYard. It's the application I absolutely love to use for all of my live video productions. So this is a plug and play app. It's a web browser. It's a browser-based way for you to go live and to create an amazing experience, which is why I love using it because literally within about 60 seconds, you can learn how to do really cool stuff like play a video, share banners, custom overlays, pull up comments, create your own custom graphics, put your logo in the corner, and go live. And bring on a guest like I'm about to do with Derek McClain today. And so I love using StreamYard because one, it lets us be professional and create really great engaging streams. But honestly, the biggest reason I love it is because it's so freaking easy to use. So StreamYard, I wanted to give them a shout out. Love the application. It's freaking fantastic. So, all right, I'm going to bring up my friend, my buddy, the other marketing guy that I know that is so smart and I love him to death, Derek McClain. I'm going to bring Derek up as soon as my mouth stops freezing. What's up, Derek? How are you today?
What's going on? I'm doing well today.
Oh, I gotta fix my background. See, this is what happens when I'm like schlepping and rushing. There we go. Now
Hey, I just want to say, give a warning to everyone watching this who loves their excuses and it takes them months to do stuff. Like I literally messaged Melanie at 2 o'clock, or at 12 o'clock, not 2 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, and I said, hey, I have this idea. Some people in the group have been asking about the Google reviews. I might want to do a live about it. And here we are just a couple hours later. We have the custom graphics, the custom intro, and we just threw it together and we're doing it. And there are those of you who it may take months to get the courage to do something like this, but you just got to go for it. Like we just made it happen and I absolutely love it. That's one of the reasons why Mel is a complete rock star.
True story, like legit true story. We literally had this conversation texting and then within an hour we had everything ready to go for the stream. So Derek, you're going to share with us how you achieved a huge boost of reviews. I mean, basically the same amount of reviews in 3 months than the company had received in several years. So, and then you posted this obviously in our group, and everyone was like, what? And so you have decided to kind of put it together in a bit of a framework. But why don't you first tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and the company you work for, of course, and tell us a little bit about the backstory of this.
Sure. Yeah. So Derek McClain, I'm a digital marketer, proud father, exercise enthusiast, and weekend warrior in no particular order there. And I work for a company called Driver Solutions. What we do is we recruit, train, and place truck drivers in entry-level truck driving jobs. And we partner with different schools, some of which we manage and have ownership and stake in, and others of which are third-party schools all throughout the U.S. that we send drivers to earn what's called a commercial driver's license, and then we help them start their career. We help them find that first job and get going. And just a quick little did you know is usually CDL training can range in the neighborhood of around $5,000 to $6,000, and most people don't have the means for that. And so what we do is we essentially make it an affordable program to them, which allows them to get their new career started without many upfront costs. And so that's what we're all about. And as far as the Google reviews, so a big thing is when we are walking someone through this process of becoming a truck driver and we're helping them get the training that they need, they're going to go to a school to learn how to drive a big rig, tractor trailer, semi truck that you see out on the road. And that's going to be a school that they've had no experience with before. And in some cases, they're going to have to travel to that school. So knowing that, what are some of the things that they're going to have to do? Well, they're probably going to have to get directions to that school. Most of them are going to do that on Google, and reviews are going to be right there in front of them. They're probably also going to research that school a little bit. Once again, they're probably going to go to Google, and reviews are going to be right there in front of them. So you kind of get where I'm going with this. It's a pretty important piece to the equation. And we had tried some different things in the past, had some success and some failures, and finally just reached the point where I'm like, we're going to try something different. We're going to stick with it. We're going to put some processes in place, and we're going to see what happens. And so that's kind of where we're at today, is 3 months into that. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you as we kind of walk through how we made it happen.
Awesome. I love it. I personally am really excited to hear. And you guys, just so you know, I'm hearing this at the same time you have. Derek gave me zero preview as to this strategy or how he did this. And so I personally can't wait to take some notes, because again, like I said, reviews is not necessarily something that I teach as far as like how to get them. I mean, obviously there are strategies in your content that I talk about sometimes, but I'm just really excited for you to share this with us, because again, as you said, it's super important. I mean, it's hypercritical in some businesses, whereas maybe less critical in others. But I do think it's important for every business to pay attention to, and we should all be trying to get those positive reviews. So why don't, without further ado, I'll let you take it away, and why don't you share with us these 4 P's and this framework and this whatever the heck it is you're about to share with us. So
Right. So just real quick to kind of reiterate your point is we talk a lot about social media marketing and other things. And sometimes I think we forget to kind of cycle back around to organic search and the fact that still a lot of people, if you have a location, they're going to go to Google to research your location, and bam, those stars are going to be right there in front of them. Those number of reviews are going to be right there in front of them. And whether or not they actually click to read the reviews, some people will, some people won't, odds are they're still going to see that vanity piece of it, that 3, 4, 5 stars, that 50 reviews, 100 reviews, 200 reviews. And there's a huge difference psychologically in seeing somebody who has maybe 10 reviews, and whether it's good or not, if they only have 10, that you're still going to kind of make a little bit of judgment about that company. But if you can achieve both a high number of reviews and have a positive star rating, then more often than not, you're going to leave a subconscious positive impression about how comfortable that person feels doing business with you or traveling to your location. So it's very, very important. And I want to preface this whole thing by saying that the reviews and the strategy that I'm going to share with you is for Melanie's target audience. This is for the DIY marketer. This is not for the Walt Disney World, who has thousands of visitors, pre-COVID especially, who's going to have people that are just naturally going to leave reviews. This is for the small business, the mom and pop, who maybe have just a couple locations, who are literally fighting for every customer and every review that they're going to get. So that being said, it's not going to cost you anything to implement this, but it is going to take a little bit of work, and there is going to be a little bit of manual labor to it. But I'm going to explain to you why I feel like that's important and worth it. So let's kind of break this down. I came up with the 4 Ps. And again, this is totally on the fly. As I was thinking through how we put this process in place, I wanted to make it something that would be easy to digest for you, something that would be easy for you to remember and implement in your business. So let's start with the first one, the process. In order to get this going, I need you to think about the process in which you are or aren't currently generating Google reviews, or any review for that matter. And just to let you know, a process is not taking a sticker, putting it in your window and saying, hey, review us on Google, and then thinking that you're just magically going to get these reviews. And believe it or not, a lot of businesses, that's the only effort that they put into it. And then they're surprised at why they don't get reviews, or why they may only get 1 or 2 reviews. And they're just kind of perplexed. Why I put this thing in the window, like, why is no one doing this? They don't get it. So think about the process that you're putting in place. Is it a user-friendly process? And more importantly, and this is what we did that finally worked so well, is how can you build upon a process that you already have in place, so that you're not necessarily coming up with something brand new. You're just adding on to some type of interaction that you're having with your customers. So a couple things that we tried. We already have automated emails that go out to our students during the whole recruiting process. So we tried adding the review as a part of that. As a part of that process, they would get an email that would ask them to leave a review. Didn't take a whole lot of labor, but what we found was we got very few results from it. Some, but very few. And that can be discouraging. I liken it to paying off debt. You can get very, very discouraged if you don't see progress very soon. And that's why a lot of people fail to pay off student loans. And the same is true for Google. If you're going into this and you want to move the needle, a couple reviews a month, it's going to take you a long time and you're going to get discouraged. So then we took it a step further, and I thought, well, what if we make a more personalized email? I'm all about automation. I'm all about hands-free and processes that just work kind of behind the scenes. But what if we personalized it a little bit? So we went old school and literally sent an Outlook email that was a personal email to some students that were going through our program or who had finished our program, and asked them to leave us a review. Now, once again, we saw a little bit of an uptick. That definitely worked better than a mass marketing, non-personalized email, because they could actually see that it was coming from an individual person. So while that is not, super easy to just say, hey, let's set up this process and let it run, it was worth it because it did start to increase our reviews. But then what we had to think about is it making enough progress to where we're going to stick with it and it's going to offset the negative reviews that come in? Because at this point, and I strongly believe in a lot of ways that internet and reviews and stuff are kind of stacked against you, because it's not very often, unless you've had just an amazing experience, that you're just going to jump on and leave a positive review without being directed to do so. But you are probably going to be likely to leave a negative review. So what would happen in this kind of vicious cycle that we were stuck in was we would get a couple good reviews, but then maybe one negative one would come in, and it would kind of offset our process, and it would offset our progress. And It just wasn't pushing us forward. Okay, so let's go back to the drawing board. Let's think about this process that we have in place. And here's what I want you to focus on. When are your customers having the most personal interaction with you? And when are they the most satisfied with your company? And when is it the easiest to ask them? Well, for us, we have the advantage of customers actually come to our spaces. They're sitting down with us. They're having to fill out paperwork. They're having to do certain things when they're graduating from our school, which a lot of times is a happy day in their life. They're accomplishing the goal that they set out to achieve. Why are we not asking them for a review right then on the spot, face to face? And that was the biggest thing, is we made it a part of that process to where right then and there, we asked them for the review, and we made it as easy as possible for them to leave that review. And we did it one-to-one in a personal setting. Now, not every business can scale to that level, but I would tell you the closest that you can get to that level is where you're going to find your bread and butter, is where you're going to get the most success, and you're going to get the most amount, and it's going to move the needle the most, and it's going to give you that momentum. So that's what we started to do. And then we took it one step further, and we looked at that process, which for some people, it was a little hard to navigate to Google to actually do it, even though we would kind of have the ability to walk them through it. So we simplified it to literally a 3-step process to now every one of our locations has their own QR code that now all you have to do is use the camera app on your phone, scans it, pops it right up. You leave the review right then. My apologies if that phone call came through. You leave the review right then, and that's it. You're done. So we found what our most personalized touch point was, where we actually had the ability to ask them in person. We added it onto a process that already existed, and then we simplified it to make it as easy as possible for the customer. And that is when the reviews went from like 10 a month to 25 a month. And then we started to make a little bit of progress and a little bit of momentum. I think you're muted, Melanie.
Yeah, I muted myself because I'm like sitting here writing notes, and I'm like, they'll hear my pencil on the desk. Yeah, okay. I even kept telling myself, don't forget to unmute yourself. Okay, I am writing notes because this is so good. So, but I have a question. So you mentioned, I love what you said about the personalization. Like, when do you have that personal contact with them? And also, like, when are they feeling good, right? Because people don't necessarily think about leaving a positive review, but when they're feeling bad, they're like, I want to tell the world, right? There's just something about people that are like that sometimes. So I love that you were talking about, when do you have that personal connection? When do you have that personal touch with them? And then when are they feeling good as well? But you also mentioned this personalized email. And I'm all about, like, again, as you mentioned, most of my audience, they're all DIYers. They don't have huge businesses and huge lists. I mean, I would suspect your list is fairly large. But when you're talking about these personalized emails, like, you guys took the time. How many are you talking about, like, that you were sending? You said it kind of got an uptick, but
Yeah.
just for context.
So we would send like 20 to 30 a month. And honestly, this was like complete old school. So we would literally send it through Outlook, blind carbon copy the list so that they couldn't see who was getting it. And our response rate by just doing that, we went from like 2 to 3 to like 10 a month just by doing it, because they could tell it wasn't just a BS automated marketing email. So yeah, it was a little more work for us, but the reward was worth it. And it actually allowed us to make progress. So that was the first step in the right direction, and what kind of allowed us to see, hey, like, people know when it's just this automated thing and that you're just sending out to everybody. And that's why I'm saying, like, a company like Walt Disney or Dick's Sporting Goods, or like these huge companies who are sending out thousands of these, that's okay. They can get away with it because even a 1% response rate for them is going to move the needle, but that's not going to do it for your average DIY marketer, small business.
Mm-hmm. I love that, because, and that's one of the things, I think so often we get a little anxious to grow and to get big and to get a big list and get these big groups and, have all these customers. But at the same time, when we're in that smaller phase, we can really take the time to provide that personal touch, which goes a long way because those people then become advocates, and that's just going to help you grow. It's going to support you, but it's going to, as you mentioned in the beginning of this, it's going to help you organically. And so that's the key to this strategy, I think, for sure. I love, Crystal says, love this. I've gotten a text from my dentist right after visiting asking for a review. I left one and they sent me a $5 gift card. I love it. I love that. And not everybody's going to be able to send a $5 gift card for every review, but I do think that incentivizing is sometimes the way to go too. But this is so good. So let's keep going. So what's P number 2?
P number 2 is personal. So I kind of alluded to it with the process. We made the process more personal. And there's 2 pieces to that. One, ask at the most personal level that you can get to. And I would even say if you're a small business, like if Melanie called up 10 people in her DIY marketing group and asked them to leave a review right then and there, or to go on LinkedIn and recommend her right then and there, what would be her response rate versus if she just put a post in the group that maybe 10% of the group even saw and maybe 1 or 2 people actually did? And it's probably going to be a lot higher. And so whatever your business can do to get to that point to where it's as personal as possible, that's when you strike. And when you combine that with when they're feeling as good as possible or when they're having the most positive interaction, you're going to be more likely to leave the review and to get a positive one. The other piece is respond personally. So when we would send out the personal email through the old school Outlook method, we would put at the bottom of it, I am going to read every single one of these and I am going to respond to every single one of them, good or bad, personally. And we would do it. And it would take a lot of time. But again, it was worth it because we jumped from 2, 3, 4, 5 to 10, 12 reviews a month by using that method. And what it allowed us to do is those that were frustrated with us, rather than them going on and bashing us, I could field that personally as kind of the middleman, and I could direct it to somebody who could help them right then and there and kind of save the relationship. So that accomplished 2 things for us. Is it allowed them to tell us before they plastered it online everywhere, and it gave them that sense of, hey, this person really cares because they've just told me in this email that they're going to read it and they're going to respond to it personally. And so that piece, by going with that more personalized email, took it to the next level. And then by actually being able to do it in person at our campuses when we're sitting down with our students, that's the ultimate. And obviously that was limited a little bit with the COVID stuff. But I will tell you, when we went to the QR code style, people felt super comfortable with that because it's literally bam, scanning it. And if you've noticed, a lot of the restaurants that you're going to, they've got the QR code now on their tabletop where you scan that, you get the menu. So it was kind of adapting to the current situation. I think you're muted again.
I did it again. The QR code has definitely seen a comeback for sure. And I do think that, so we've got a really interesting question. So Zane over on YouTube, he says, how did you get them to sign up for the email? So are these the emails that these particular emails are going to, are these existing students that you have, or so that's probably a different email list than your marketing email list, right?
Right. Yeah. These are people who've been through our program, who've had an experience with us, who have received kind of like transactional emails because they've been getting scheduled for training and we're sending them directions and what to bring and all that type of stuff. So yeah. Yep.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. Awesome. All right, cool. This is good.
All right, promotion. So the third P, we've covered process, personalization. Now we're on promotion. So again, I laugh because I see this all the freaking time. Like you walk into a building and so small on their freaking windows, this leave us a review on Google. And I'm like, does anyone even maybe you see it, but it's almost laughable because it's like, you want this review from me so bad, and it means so much to your business that you're willing to take like a 3-inch space to slap some sticker up in the corner or down the bottom corner of your window. Like, give me a break. Like, so promote this crap. Like, tell people that you want reviews. Tell people that you're trying to get reviews. And if they're happy about interacting with your business, especially if you have a actual physical location where they're going to be there, like, play it up. Like, why would you not want the reviews and want the feedback, especially if it can move the needle? And so we promoted at our building. We have different things that are up on the walls. We have the handout that I mentioned that has the QR code. And then an actual promotion / giveaway on top of that is everybody who enters or everybody who leaves a review is automatically entered to win a monthly giveaway for a gift card. So they get some incentive to take the time to do that. And we're promoting it on social media as well. So we're acknowledging who won the month before, and we're encouraging people to leave reviews for us. So think about the different places where you can promote this and take advantage of it, especially if they're on site at your location. Like, ask them to leave you a review. It's a no-brainer, and do it in a way to where they're actually going to see it and pay some attention to it and have a little bit of incentive to do it. So the third P is promotion.
Love it. Love it. I'm not muted this time, right?
Got it.
I know. Well, here's this is a question that I think is interesting, and we can let's go ahead and answer it now. I was thinking about keeping it for the end, but so Laura says, are reviews better than a testimonial?
That's a good question. And
that's a good question.
Here's the other piece that this allows us to do is we get testimonials from reviews and vice versa. And so what we do is we identify who these people are and who's most satisfied and who's willing to take the time. And Google kind of helps you do this. Like, you'll see the local guide and you'll see how many reviews they've left. And then you can kind of gauge by who takes the time to leave a more lengthy review, that type of stuff. But it allows you to identify people who will leave testimonials for you, who will share more of their story, and who will be brand advocates. And so this is how we've actually found a lot of people that are willing to be featured on social media and share their picture, and in some cases even go on video for us. So I would say it depends on the use case. If you're talking about Google, I would say a review is better for you because it's going to show up right there and it's what they're specifically asking for. But if you're trying to create organic content to rank, on the non-local side, actual search engine side, or to put out on social media, then maybe a testimonial is better. But you can use them both interchangeably to some extent.
Yeah, I think that's great what you said about, if somebody leaves a good review, you can also, respond to that review. Google lets you reply to reviews, and you can, especially even if you know them, if they're a customer and you're able to identify who it is, you can reach out and say, hey, we saw that you left us a review. Thank you so much. We'd love to feature you on our website. You know what I mean? And so, or we'd love to write a case study about you or whatever. But I do think that, love what you said about it depends on the use case, because it also depends on, the reviews are, depends on your business type, of course, right? So reviews are like gold to some businesses and very critical. And no one really is going to, if for example, testimonials, I think, come into play when you're looking at services, like intimate services or high dollar services, like, coaching or consulting or, whatever it might be, because you want to hear like, okay, how is this going to give me a transformation, right? Versus I'm just looking for a really great place to go eat. Well, you're not going to go read a bunch of testimonials. You're likely going to read the reviews, right? And that's going to be good enough. So it really does depend on your business type and also what the journey is of that person's research process. Are they going to start with looking at reviews and then end up somewhere where they need to do a little more research and read those testimonials? But like you said, in some cases, the reviews and testimonials are interchangeable. You may say, hey, thank you so much for leaving that review. Do you care if we use that as a testimonial on our site, where you're just literally copying and pasting what they wrote in the Google review and slapping a picture on it? So, but it's a great question. It's a great question for sure. Awesome. Okay, let's keep going.
All right. So we've covered process, personalization, promotion. Let's get to the fourth P, which is performance, and more specifically, encouraging performance and maintaining performance. So the cool thing about doing it this way and finally getting something that is successful for us is we are able to really measure the performance, and we're able to see a more immediate impact in our performance. And the way that we did this is we've made it a kind of like a mini competition between different locations where they're all now encouraged, incentivized to get people to leave reviews, and we kind of see who can leave the most reviews. So as it is now, it's not like a big scoreboard that we're putting out there, but what we're doing in kind of like a subtle way, which is bringing out this competition, is I'm now sending progress reports to them in different aspects of this process. So usually at the beginning of the month, middle of the month, end of the month, they get kind of a report on, hey, here's where we stand. Here's what the other campuses have done. Here's what you've done. And it's just kind of like a subtle way to keep them on track, but then also to kind of provoke a little bit of friendly competition to them. Now, this is early on, so I'm not sure if we'll take that to a level of actually providing like some type of direct monetary incentive, because sometimes you do get some people that take that a little too far, and we want these to be, legit reviews and all that type of stuff. So right now it's more of just like we are measuring the performance of it, and every month we're providing progress reports to the different locations that are out there trying to actively promote leaving these reviews. And that is keeping it in front of them, keeping them aware of what's going on. And it's also bringing out a little bit of competition, a little bit of friendly competition. And we monitor this on a regular basis. So I'm now able to go back and I'm able to say, hey, we started off with, for example, just to be super transparent, we didn't have a great review at one of our locations, a great star rating at one of our locations when we started. It was like a 2.7, and now we're at a 3.8. And so to be able to do that in 3 months, and to be able to each month kind of share all the different steps and all the different points that we've hit, when we started 2.7, and then we are happy when we hit a 3.0, and then a 3.3, and now we're at a 3.8, and we're like so close to a 4.0. And that's like, you feel pretty good about yourself when you're at a 4.0, and then you just keep going and see how high you can get. And so being able to look at that data, to measure the performance along the way, and to see the progress is keeping people in it. Because when it's not all on you, when I can't control everything, not one person can control everything, but you have to delegate that to some different people who may be working for your business. You want to make sure that they know that their efforts are appreciated and that they're making progress with it. So that's been a big piece to it as well. As I congratulate them, I say, here's what we've done. Here's where maybe we could do a little bit better. I've listened to feedback. That's how we made the process better, and we implemented the QR code and things like that. And we've given them the tools to where they're able to put some posters and things up at the school. Is very valuable, because it shows that they're on board and they're involved in it. It goes back to the saying that I really, really like, which is, when I involved my team more, my team became more involved. And I think that is what I was failing to do in the beginning. Is I was, myself and other members of our digital marketing team, we were sending out the email kind of after the fact. We weren't really involved in the campus. They really didn't have much incentive in anything. But now that we're involving more people in it, they're becoming more involved. They're taking pride in it, and they're seeing the progress take place.
I love it. You just came up with a bonus P, progress.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And if we want to go 6 Ps, the other one I'd add is people. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You need the right people.
Yeah.
And we have the right people in place now. And sometimes that's identifying different people at each of these locations who kind of get it and who are willing to do it. But we've done that. And a lot of that was by putting out that progress report and saying, hey, you only had a couple this month. And then all at once next month, well, you're doing a little bit better. What changed? Well, somebody else is now in charge of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And even the people that you reach out to, as you said earlier, the people you reach out to say, hey, thank you so much for your feedback. If you're there, like you said, you're there, they're doing stuff, and you're like, hey, while we're here and you had such a great experience, would you mind, the people, identifying the people that you want to leave a review as well, because it goes into it as well. So I think you went from 4 to 6. You have 6 Ps here. So I love it.
Oh,
I
man.
love it. This is fantastic. Again, reviews are critical. And I think that it's one of those things where a lot of businesses, like I loved what you said too, where you were talking about, it's a bit of a journey and it's easy to get like, but I love your persistence while we're on the P's. My goodness.
Oh my gosh, we're to 7.
You were persistent with it. I mean,
Yeah.
you stuck with it. You tried one thing, you got a little bit of an uptick, and you kept adapting, you kept changing, you kept moving forward with your process and making, listening and like you said, and you evolved your team and all that persistence really, really went into it. And to go from 2.7 to 3.8 in such a short amount of time, that is huge. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this, but I genuinely believe that most people who have a positive experience with the company will leave them a review or do have good intentions on leaving a review when asked to do it. But if the timing is not right, or if it isn't if it's so subtle that it's a freaking sticker in the window, like there've been so many times where I've walked in this locally owned coffee shop, had an amazing experience. I walked out, I did see the little sticker and I'm like, I'm going to do it this time. But I didn't because like I got in my car and then who knows what happened.
Right. Life takes over. Exactly.
And so that is so huge. Like when you've got them at that point where they're right in front of you, where they're having the most positive, most personal part of that experience and you ask for it right then and you're freaking doing this right then. Like if you can get it to that level in a nice way, obviously, like the response rate, it goes so far up.
I think the QR code is such a brilliant idea. I mean, to just have a QR code, again, just make it easy. You said earlier, you've got to make it simple because, I think people, like you said, they do genuinely know that a review is going to help a small business or help a business. And, they have good intentions or they think they want to do it. But then when you're not in the moment, it becomes less of a priority to you. Right. And so if I'm in the moment, I'm feeling good about what my experience, and then it's all I have to do is literally flash my phone in front of this QR code and it's right there and it's easy. I mean, why not? I mean, I think that's such a brilliant idea to do that. I loved that idea for it as well. And QR codes are easy to get, right? And that's the thing.
Completely free.
It's all easy.
Trackable.
That's what I love about this that you're describing is it just requires time and effort and a little sweat equity, which is what small business is, right? That's what marketing a small business is. They don't have big budgets, and this is just one of those things that will go a long way for you. I do think that this is huge. But I love the story about you when you said you went from 2.7 to 3.8. I think I just want to keep reiterating that because I know there are a lot of businesses when you don't have very many reviews and you get 1 or 2 bad reviews, it can be detrimental to your score. And that's a quick measurement thing. So people scan through, and if they see that you are like below 3.5 stars, they aren't even, think about it, especially like restaurants or, I mean, when people are traveling in and they've never heard, then you need that like online search traffic and they see that score, they aren't even going to what they're going to do is they're going to go straight to the negative reviews and they're going to do a judgment call. They're going to be like, okay, is this person like nutcase out of their mind or is this a legitimate bad thing? And we do all. I just bought a new computer just recently, and the computer that I was going to buy, the one that was recommended to me in the store, I was like, okay, cool. That's on my list. I had my short list, right? And then I started reading the reviews, and I started reading these reviews, and I was like, thank God I read the reviews, because the computer, while it's great, it was great for people who really knew how to literally unscrew the back and make adjustments, because they said, this computer is amazing. However, this part was bad and this part, I had to do this. And once I reinstalled these drivers, it was fine. I was like, that's not me. That's great for somebody who, they literally like, this computer is absolutely amazing, but I had to do these things too. I'm like, not my kind of computer.
Right.
And so that computer has a purpose, but again, I read those reviews and that was education for me. So, but back to it. So I just want to give encouragement to businesses who maybe they don't have very many reviews and they have a low score. You in 3 months took one of your locations from a 2.7 to 3.8, and you're on your way to a 4.0 or higher, which is critical. So I love it for not only just if you don't have reviews, but also if you have a bad score, you can turn that score around. It's probably, you were talking about debt earlier. It's easier than turning your credit score around, it sounds like. I mean,
Right.
heck, 3 months to a 3.8. So that's fantastic. I love it. This has been so good, Derek. I really appreciate you taking the time. I love how literally this went from like a couple text messages to like within an hour we had this pulled together so that you could share this with my audience. And I know that, you know, I appreciate you taking the time to create a framework so that people could take it away. And truly, this was like a little miniature masterclass. So I appreciate that so much. If you guys are just now tuning in, do make sure that you mark this and go watch the replay of this, because Derek dropped some amazing knowledge bombs. He shared with us 4 P's, but we actually ended up adding 2 more. But he said, you know, you have to have a process, and that process needs to be something that start with something you already have, but keep it simple and just look at your process to how you're getting these reviews and change it so that you can get more. He said, make it personal. That was the second P. Be personal in how you communicate, but also be personal in the touch points. Like, I loved how you said, don't like send a personalized email, but also be personal. Like, if they're in person, actually talk to them and try to get them to do this as well. And then you talked about promotion. That was the third P. So you've got to obviously get people and get them to do it. Don't just put the sticker in the window, create some other ways. I loved the QR code example that you provided for that. And then performance, measure your performance and reward your team members for getting these reviews, and, you know, create a goal, right? Like, let's say you have a 2.7 rating and say, you know, guys, when we hit 4.0, we're going to have a pizza party, you know, whatever it might be, or everyone gets $100 Amazon gift card. You know, I mean, I think it's great to have a goal and to measure that performance, and so that you can tweak the process. And that's when I said, you said measure progress, but then I said persistent. You were persistent. And that's, I think, also a huge critical piece of this, is that you can't just try one thing and then be done with it. You got to keep at it. And that's what you did. You kept changing things. You involved your team. You, you know, just kept tweaking, and to the point where you got, in 3 months, the same amount of reviews that you guys had in a number of years. And you switched one of your locations from a 2.7 to a 3.8, again, on its way to a 4.0. So love it. I love it, Derek. It's amazing. It's amazing. CK's here. She says, ooh, I like processes.
Right.
I love it. Well, Derek, again, thank you so much. So if people want to kind of stay in touch with you, I know that you are one of my favorite, you're a dear friend of mine, but also you are so generous in how you help people, both personally with just inspiring people with the stuff you post on your social media accounts about running and being healthy and being fit, and just, you're very inspirational in those aspects, but you also are extremely generous in the tips and the motivation that you provide. And I love how you show up inside of the DIY Marketing with Melanie Facebook group. But outside of that group, what if somebody wants to stay in touch with you or learn from you or any of those things? Where's the best place for them to connect with you?
I'm still a Facebook junkie. I just love it. Like, I did the whole LinkedIn experiment, and I'm kind of back on there again, dabbling around. But especially now that the election's over, like, I'm kind of back on Facebook, even though there's still fair share of that junk out there.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little bit more peaceful, and I just love it. So Facebook, Derek McClain, that's where I hang out the most. I'll respond to just about anywhere, though, and can be found just about anywhere. Instagram, LinkedIn, Derek McClain. And would definitely love to help. So this year, I have a goal that every month there's going to be 2 people who just out of nowhere that need some help, that need some uplifting. My word of the year was cheer, so that may need a little cheer in their life. I just provide it. And at a time when it's completely unexpected. So I'm not talking about birthdays, anniversaries, all that other crap. I'm talking about when they least expect it. So you never know. If you follow me, if you connect with me, you may be one of those people. But I just have this whole philosophy that I just want to pour into people. I don't expect anything in return, because everything that's always come back to me has always been way more tenfold than what I could have ever expected. So that's why I do what I do.
That is you wrapped up right there. I mean, that is everything you are. It doesn't surprise me at all that was your word of the year, and you do that every day. So keep it up, and I appreciate you so much. So thanks again, Derek, for being here. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you.
Oops, I cut him off. Dang it. I hate it when I do that. He was going to say, have a great day, I bet. But you guys, this is amazing. I wrote this down. I mean, you guys just got like free training. I hope you took notes. Again, these 4 Ps, a bonus P for sure was persistence. I loved this because, I don't really work with local businesses so much anymore. I'm very, very selective when I take on a client to help them. It's just not part of my business model anymore. But when I used to work with local businesses all the time, this was always a thing. And there was a local business I used to work with, and they had a bad run for a while. They were really popular, then they kind of had a bad run for a little bit. They got a lot of negative reviews, a lot. And some of it was justified, right? And then they completely changed their business. They totally, like, they changed some staff, they changed some culture, they changed some training, and then they were all of a sudden amazing again. And so, but yet they were living under this dark cloud of these negative reviews that had brought their score down. And they were the kind of business where the reviews were really, really important for them. And so I know that I so wish I had this little miniature training back when we were trying to figure out what to do to change those reviews. And luckily for them, fortunately for them, over time, those reviews changed, but it was not fast. What Derek just described to us is a way for you to make a push, way for you to create a boost. And if I know anything from working with the small businesses that I worked with, there's something about the algorithms that once people start reviewing your business and once these positive reviews start happening, you will start to see positive effects in the way you show up in the algorithms, including it's almost like when some people see that somebody else left a review, it prompts them to leave a review too. And so it kind of like builds on itself. And that's what we saw. But it took a really long time for their score to become positive. And so what Derek just described was just this great way to boost and to push a campaign so that you can, one, get a boost of reviews or overturn or overcome a negative review experience where, because like I said, if you're small and you don't have a lot of reviews, one or two negative reviews can be detrimental to your score. And so, it's really important that you actually continue to work on getting those positive reviews. And it should be something that you implement into your process that's always there. Don't make it a temporary thing. That was the only thing I was going to say is after listening to what Derek described, I would hate to see a business make this like, let's do it. And then they get to a place where they're happy and then they stop their processes. I would say that this is something you should always be focused on. It should never go away. And so I thought this was so great. I loved his P's that he shared with us: process, personal, promotion, performance, and then I'm going to go ahead and say persistence, because it sure as heck sounds like Derek was persistent with the process, which is why it was successful. So I love that he shared the success story with us so that we could share it with you guys. And I appreciate all of you that were tuning in and watching. Again, this live video is sponsored by StreamYard. And this is the application that I use when I do all of my live streams. It's how I can share my screen. It's how I can bring guests on the show. It's how I can display your comments and do all the things. So if you want to try StreamYard, all you have to do is in fact, I can get you a 14-day free trial for the pro plan, which lets you do all the fun stuff. Just go to melaniediane.com/StreamYard and you can check that out. You can learn about StreamYard. And if you have any questions, just let me know. But this was so great. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here because, oh my gosh, this was like a pop-up thing, but I don't know. I'm thinking I might repurpose this as a podcast because it was so freaking good. So I got to go think through some stuff and get it figured out. But y'all are great. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate everyone that showed up live. And you guys know the drill. Go have a great day and go be awesome.